Remember when the WNBA players were ready to walk, demanding 30% of gross revenue, claiming they had backup leagues and backup plans? Well, the strategy they were betting everything on just unraveled before our eyes. Unrivaled, the league meant to give them leverage, just lost nearly half its audience in a single year. And now the players who threatened to strike are reportedly rethinking everything. The WNBA owners just sat back and called their bluff. But here's where it gets even crazier. The same players who made those threats, Breanna, Stewart, and Napheesa Collier, are the very ones behind that collapsing league.
Co-founders who created all of this, Breanna Stewart of Miss BC and Napheesa Collier of Lunar Owls BC. They're about to go head-to-head in minutes, and you guys have done such an incredible job getting this league.
It's a perfect storm of miscalculations, and in this video, we're about to break down how the balance of power in women's basketball shifted overnight, and why the real threat might not be what you think. Stick around, this story has more layers than anyone expected. The Unrivaled collapse. All right, let us talk about what just happened to Unrivaled, because these numbers are absolutely brutal and there is no way to sugarcoat them.
Paige Beckers with the great fadeaway, and I love the way that she scores. She's going to make the read right, just like Kelsey Plum's going to make the right read.
Last year, Unrivaled's opening night pulled around 312,000 viewers across TNT and True TV. For a brand new women's basketball league launching during the offseason, that was actually solid. People were curious. They tuned in. There was genuine excitement about what Stewart and Collier were building. Fast forward to this year, and the opening day games averaged just 175,000 viewers. But wait, it gets worse. Games that only aired on True TV averaged a pitiful 32,000 viewers.
Tournament, the WNBA, is out with new TV, been the most watched in the league's history, averaging 1.3 million viewers per game.
Let me put that in perspective for you. I have YouTube videos that get more views than that. This is not a small dip. This is a complete nosedive that nobody in women's basketball wanted to see. Last season, Unrivaled averaged 221,000 viewers across the entire regular season on TNT. Their championship game peaked at 385,000 viewers. That one-on-one tournament between Napheesa Collier and Aaliyah Edwards, that pulled 377,000 viewers. Those were the highs. Those were the moments they were supposed to build on. Now, games on January 9th averaged 139,000 viewers. Games on January 10th and 11th pulled just 71,000 on True TV. The audience did not just shrink, it disappeared completely. And you know what is interesting? Unrivaled CEO Alex Bazell came out and said they are building for the long game. He said leagues are not built overnight. I always find it fascinating when people pull out the Rome was not built in a day excuse. Bro, leagues are also not built by hemorrhaging nearly half your audience in year 2. That is not building. That is collapsing in slow motion and hoping nobody notices. Of course, Unrivaled is trying to spin this disaster into something positive. They came out this week claiming they are on track for $40 million in revenue, up 48% from last year. They are bragging about merchandise sales being up 54%.
Now, the WNBA cashing in on its recent surge in popularity, scoring a media rights deal worth more than $2 billion.
Social media impressions are up 27%. They are pointing to their Philadelphia tour stop on January 30th being sold out at a 17,000-seat arena. And look, good for them on the merch sales, seriously. But here is the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. None of that matters if nobody is watching on television. The TV deal is what pays the bills. The TV deal is what gives players leverage in CBA negotiations. The TV deal is what makes the entire business model work. And that TV deal with TNT is reportedly worth 9 figures. But here is the kicker. There is an opt-out clause after 3 years. If these ratings do not turn around dramatically, TNT can walk away from the entire thing. You can sell all the hoodies and jerseys you want, but if your TV partner bounces, you are in serious trouble. Now, I know some people are going to defend Unrivaled by saying they were competing with the NFL playoffs and the college football playoff. And yes, that is true. That is incredibly tough competition. But here is what everyone seems to be missing. You knew that was coming. You chose to launch your season in that window anyway. And even accounting for the competition, Losing nearly half your audience in year 2 is absolutely catastrophic for any business. There is no spin that makes those numbers look good. The real reason. But here is what nobody in women's basketball wants to say out loud. The real reason Unrivaled's ratings tanked has nothing to do with NFL competition, nothing to do with scheduling conflicts, and nothing to do with marketing failures. It comes down to one brutal, uncomfortable truth that the entire industry has been dancing around for 2 years now. Look at who is not playing this season. Caitlin Clark is not there. A'ja Wilson is not there. Angel Reese sat out citing injury concerns. Sabrina Ionescu opted out entirely. The 4 biggest names in women's basketball, the faces that launched 1,000 headlines, the players who turned the 2024 WNBA season into a cultural phenomenon, all of them skipped Unrivaled's second season. And just like that, the audience vanished with them. This is not speculation. This is not opinion. The numbers tell the story with brutal clarity. When Caitlin Clark plays, people watch. When she does not play, they do not watch. It really is that simple.
I haven't seen Caitlin Clark say after beating UCLA, get out your money, get a bag. Obviously, she's quoting somebody. Again, I may be wrong.
Unrivaled just proved this in the most painful way possible, and the implications for women's basketball are enormous. The audience is not here for the sport itself. Not yet, anyway. They are here for specific players, specific personalities, specific storylines. Remove those names from the equation, and you are left with 32,000 viewers on True TV, wondering what happened to the buzz. Breanna Stewart, one of Unrivaled's co-founders, actually admitted this herself after a game last week. She said TV ratings are a huge metric for measuring success, and they want those numbers to be consistently high regardless of when games air. But here is the uncomfortable reality she did not address directly. Wishing for ratings does not make them appear out of thin air. You need the stars on the court. And this season, the stars chose to stay home. This creates an incredibly awkward situation for the players' union because Napheesa Collier literally told ESPN that leagues like Unrivaled give players more leverage to make the WNBA do the right thing and pay them what they are owed. She said the quiet part loud and proud. Unrivaled exists specifically to pressure the WNBA in negotiations. But here's the fundamental problem with using something as leverage. It actually has to work. Your backup plan has to be credible. Your alternative has to scare the people sitting across the negotiating table. And right now, Unrivaled is pulling 32,000 viewers on True TV, while the co-founders, who are also union vice presidents, watch their leverage evaporate in real time. That is not a negotiating position. That is a liability wrapped in an embarrassment. The WNBA owners are not losing sleep over Unrivaled anymore. They are watching these numbers and realizing they hold all the cards. The players built their entire negotiating strategy around having options. Turns out those options only exist when the stars show up. And this season, they did not. The CBA standoff. Think about what this means at the negotiating table. 6 days ago, the WNBA CBA deadline passed. The players refused to extend it. They let it expire because they thought they had leverage. They thought they could hold out for 30% of gross revenue because they figured if negotiations fall apart, at least they have Unrivaled to fall back on.
For WNBA players who just reached a monumental agreement with their league, their paychecks are skyrocketing by 53%.
Well, Unrivaled just posted numbers that would make a high school basketball game jealous. The WNBA owners are looking at those ratings and they are not panicking. They are laughing. Why would they cave to player demands when the player's only alternative is a sinking ship? One player even gave an analogy about the situation that completely missed the point. She said it is like one person wants Applebee's and the other wants Chipotle, and they cannot figure out what to order. And here is what she does not seem to realize. When you are hungry and your only other option just closed down, you take whatever is on the menu. The WNBA knows this. The players are starting to figure it out. Now let me be clear about something important. I actually think WNBA players deserve more money. The league just had its most successful season ever. Viewership was up significantly. Attendance was through the roof. The new TV deal is worth $2.2 billion. The players helped build that. They should share in the success. But there is a massive difference between deserving something and having the leverage to demand it. And right now, the players have no leverage whatsoever. They played chicken with the league, and the league just called their bluff in spectacular fashion. What is actually on the table? Let me break down what is actually being offered here, because I think some people have lost perspective on the magnitude of these raises. The WNBA's current offer would take the maximum salary from $249,000 to over $1.3 million. That is more than 5 times the current max salary. The average salary would jump from $120,000 to more than $530,000. The minimum salary would increase from $67,000 to approximately $250,000. When you also consider that the average WNBA season is about 4 months long, $250,000 minimum for 4 months of work is incredible compensation by any reasonable standard. That is not a slap in the face. That is the biggest raise in women's sports history, and the players still said no. The players want 30% of gross revenue, which would create a salary cap around $10.5 million.
A historic moment for women's sports. This major influx of money will without a doubt impact the players and teams.
The league is offering 70% of net revenue, which creates a salary cap around $5 million. The league claims the players' proposal would cost them $700 million over the life of the deal. Now look, I understand the gross versus net debate is real. The players have legitimate concerns about the league hiding money and expenses. But here's the reality nobody wants to acknowledge. The WNBA reportedly lost $40 to $50 million in 2024. And that was with all the Caitlin Clark hype bringing unprecedented attention to the league. This league has been losing money for almost 30 years straight. The new TV deal helps significantly, but it does not make the league instantly profitable. So when the players demand 30% of gross revenue, they are essentially saying, give us our cut before you pay any bills. And the league is responding that they simply cannot afford that and survive as a business. Somebody has to blink. And with Unrivaled collapsing in real time, it is probably going to be the players. The current chaos. So where does this actually leave the CBA negotiations right now? Honestly, in complete chaos. The deadline passed over a week ago. They had already extended it twice before that. Once at the end of October, once at the end of November. This time, there is no extension. Both sides let it expire and dug in their heels. The WNBA is now operating under what they call status quo, with a moratorium on all league business. Free agency is completely frozen. The expansion drafts for Toronto and Portland are delayed indefinitely. Around 80% of the league are free agents, and none of them can sign contracts because nobody knows what the salary cap is going to be. And remember that strike authorization vote from December? 98% of players voted yes. That is still active and on the table. The 7 players on the executive committee can call a strike at any moment they choose. But here's the question everyone should be asking. If you are a WNBA player, do you really want to strike right now? Your backup league is collapsing publicly. The WNBA is offering you 5 times your current salary. And if you strike, you might just prove to everyone that the league does not actually need you to survive. The Players Union put out a statement accusing the league of failing to meet them at the table with the same spirit and seriousness. They said the league was running out the clock on purpose, but after seeing those unrivaled numbers, maybe the league was just waiting for the players' leverage to evaporate completely. And it just did. The plot twist. Now here is where this story takes a completely wild turn that changes everything. While Unrivaled is collapsing, there is another league making major moves in the shadows. It is called Project B, and they just announced their first official location, Tokyo, Japan, March 26th through April 4th, 2027. Project B is doing this Formula One-style global circuit with 7 tournaments across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. They are planning to run from November 2026 through April 2027, directly during the WNBA offseason. And here is the bombshell. They are offering players over $2 million a year with actual equity in the league. Now guess who has already signed up? Nneka Ogwumike, who is the president of the Players Union herself, Alyssa Thomas, Jonquel Jones, Jewel Lloyd, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham. 10 WNBA players total, including some of the biggest names in the sport, have already committed to Project B. The president of the union that is negotiating with the WNBA just signed with a competing league. The irony is genuinely incredible. Here is what makes Project B interesting and potentially dangerous for everyone. Right now, their schedule does not conflict with the WNBA season. They are positioning themselves as an off-season league, similar to what Unrivaled tried to do. But the WNBA wants to expand its season, possibly to 50 games, and potentially start earlier in the calendar year. If those schedules start overlapping, players are going to have to make very difficult choices about where their loyalty lies. And here is where it gets even more interesting. Project B is funded in part by Saudi money through a company called Sella. They have made it clear they are open to becoming direct competition for the WNBA if the opportunity presents itself. So while Unrivaled is collapsing spectacularly, Project B is building quietly in the background. The question everyone should be asking is whether they can actually deliver on those $2 million salaries, or if they are just the next league to promise big and deliver nothing. The reality check. So what happens now? Where does this all go from here? Honestly, I think the players are going to have to take something very close to what the league is offering. They do not really have a choice at this point. Not because they do not deserve more money, they absolutely do, but because they have no leverage whatsoever. Unrivaled just proved that women's basketball without the right stars does not draw an audience. Project B is still a year away and completely unproven with Saudi backing that makes everyone nervous. The WNBA, for all its problems, is still the only stable option on the table. It has been around for 30 years. It is subsidized by the NBA. It is not going anywhere regardless of what happens in these negotiations. Breanna Stewart said last week that negotiations are in a holding pattern. Napheesa Collier said nothing has changed at the league level, but something has definitely changed. Their leverage just evaporated on national television for everyone to see. The smart move for the players is straightforward, even if it is hard to accept. Take the deal. Take the 5 times salary increase. Take the $1 million plus max contracts. Build from there. Prove you can grow the league even further. Then demand more in the next CBA from a position of actual strength. The stubborn move is equally clear. Keep holding out for 30% of gross. Maybe strike. Watch the league potentially replace you with younger players who would be thrilled to make $250,000 minimum. Watch the fans who just started paying attention lose interest and move on to something else. Look, I said it in my last video, and I will say it again because it bears repeating. I actually believe WNBA players deserve more money. The growth has been real and undeniable. Caitlin Clark has brought eyes to this league that it has never had before in its entire history. The players are absolutely part of that success story, but business does not care about what you deserve. Business cares about leverage, and right now the players have none. As the WNBA players face a pivotal choice, the future of women's basketball hangs in the balance. Will they seize the historic offer on the table, securing their place as pioneers, or gamble everything on an uncertain future? The decisions made now could echo through the sport for years to come. But the real question is, will they learn from the mistakes of the past or repeat them, risking everything for an outcome that may never come? The power dynamics are shifting, and this story is far from finished. What happens next could change everything.